Today in front of the camera, we have the Omega Speedmaster Dark Side of the Moon Apollo 8 edition. Now, admittedly, this is not a version that I've really been interested in. I've always, kind of noticed it sitting in display cases when I visit authorized dealers, but I've never tried one on. And I'm so glad that Exquisite sent one in for review, along with the first Omega in space, the recently discontinued Speedmaster, for me to check out and feature and do videos on here on the channel, and maybe compare a little bit to my own Sapphire Sandwich, which will be soon updated from Omega. And that is really exciting news. So, let's take a look at this one. This, again, the dark side of the moon, and that is in reference to the ceramic case as opposed to a coated stainless steel material. Instead of a high gloss finish, this carries that same nuance and finesse that we see with traditional stainless steel Speedmasters like the one that I'm wearing today. Now, if we look at this, you can see the lyre style lugs and a high gloss polish, and then the top of the lugs, the sides of the case are all done in a very fine satinized finish, which is impressive to see. Now, the case is fashioned out of ceramic. The bezel is as well. The function pushers are. The lumed sign crown is done in ceramic. And then also the pin buckle for this leather strap is all fashioned out of ceramic. So that is really nice to see. And one of the reasons why this watch is on the higher end of the price spectrum when it comes to Speedmaster offerings. Now, the fun thing about this is the Apollo 8 tie-in. Now, for those of you unaware, Apollo 8 was the first Apollo mission to reach the moon and orbit the moon, to go around the dark side where they would lose radio communication with the Earth. And the last thing that they said before they crossed over to the dark side, they said, "We'll see you on the other side." And you guys can see that engraved here on the back of this ceramic, which is really fun to see. In fact, that was the first time back in December of 1968, so roughly 52 years ago, that humans with their own eyes saw the reverse side or the dark side of the moon. The Russians had sent a probe that had taken some pictures of the dark side of the moon, but this is the first time that humans saw it with their own eyes in a spacecraft, and that was, again, on Apollo 8. So this watch is kind of paying tribute to that historic event, and you'll see that Apollo 8, December 1968 engraved here, and that's fun. So let's look at the movement. This is the caliber 1869, which essentially is the same base Lamania as what's in the 1861 and 1863 in the classic Hesalite and Sapphire Sandwich versions of the professional moon watch. It carries 19 joules, a 3 hertz beat frequency. It does not hack. It is not a certified chronometer and carries roughly 48 hours of power reserve. Now, what's kind of fun is if you look at the top of the watch, you kind of think that you're looking at a texturized dial, but that is laser ablated components, the backside of this Lamania-based caliber. And if you look at the design here, this is actually mimicking the front side of the moon, the side that the Earth always sees. And if you turn the watch over, you can see the laser ablated coated components mimicking the architecture or the mapping of the reverse side or the dark side of the moon. So that is really fun. Now, we have some nice use of accent color. It's a very bright yellow, almost orange in tone. And you'll see that on the Speedmaster text, on the chronograph hand, on 2 of the sub-register hands, and then the tachymeter designation in the ceramic bezel. Now, here's the fun part here. We have a lumed bezel, which is fun, a lumed crown, in addition to the standard lume application of the hands and markers. So it's really fun in low light, which is fitting because this is a dark side of the moon, which kind of conjures ideas of darkness and the unknown, right? And so to see this really interesting in natural light, but also equally visually potent in low light, is just a nice juxtaposition that I find enjoyable as a watch fan. Now let's take a look at the strap. We have a padded leather strap with a yellow contrast stitch here on the top. And then if you kind of angle the watch, or the strap, excuse me, you can see perforation holes, venting holes, and the inner portion of that is also done in the yellow accent color. So I think overall, this has a nice execution. You look at this at first glance and you just think maybe it's a bit garish, maybe it's a bit gimmicky, maybe it's a bit large. But then after you spend some time with it and you put it on wrist and you kind of marvel at the ceramic finished case, the lumed bezel, the laser ablated movement components, and the tie into the historical event of Apollo 8 going across the dark side of the moon 52 years ago, you feel the comfort on the wrist, you notice the scratch resistance of the ceramic, of the box sapphire crystal that carries anti-reflective treatment. And then you realize that, hey, this is actually a pretty dang cool watch. And I will say, just in full transparency, if it's your first time spending, $8, $9, $10,000 on a watch, you would probably be most happy if you opt for a name brand, a very traditional watch, like maybe a GMT Master 2 from Rolex, a Submariner, an Explorer, or you could go with an Aquaterra, a Planet Ocean from Omega. You could look at the Navitimer from Breitling. You could look at some of the usual suspects, and I think that would be a fantastic option. But if you already own several watches in the luxury price point, maybe you're in a funk of, hey, what should I buy next? Nothing's really jumping out at me. I think you should take a look at this one as well as other Dark Side of the Moon editions if you want something modern but fun and not something that you'll see on everybody's wrist. When everybody posts Speedy Tuesday, hashtag Speedy Tuesday on Instagram and social media, you'll see a lot of classic moon watches and sapphire sandwiches like the one that I own. And I certainly love those watches. It's rare that you see something like this, the Apollo 8. And I think that does add a bit of draw and interest into owning an Omega product. So I think this one's really fun. I want to thank Nick of Exquisite Timepieces for sending this in. It's been very enjoyable. Obviously one of the more interesting watches that I've had here in 2020. And so big thank you to Nick. And guys, if you're shopping for an Omega, if you're looking for the first Omega in space that has been recently discontinued, or maybe you want to get a classic moon watch or a sapphire sandwich or something cool like this Dark Side of the Moon, I'll place his contact information in the description of the video where you can reach out to him directly, get pricing, turnaround times, have all your questions answered. So that's in the description. Thanks for watching today, guys. I really appreciate it. Let me know if you have questions, and I'll see you in the next video.